Hello, I'm old Mr. Kent, 82 years old and having a great time on my E-Trike. And in my last video, I said I would continue talking about the batteries that we use on these E-Trikes and e-bikes. Same style battery. So if you're riding an e-bike, that's all right because you can still use the information. So one thing I have to do is answer a couple of comments. One person asked if the electric e-bikes have an intelligent battery charger, because I talked about that, and yes, they do. So that means it'll shut off automatically when it gets charged. When the battery gets charged, it won't sit there and keep charging and destroy your battery. Okay. And then another comment was people get confused about what the temperature should be when you're charging, and this and that and the other thing. So I'll explain. There's two kinds of lithium batteries. Okay, there's the one we use, which is called lithium ion. It's got an eye on me. It's like my wife. She's got an app on her phone, and she can see everywhere I go on this thing. So I have to be good. Anyway, so she's got her eye on me. She's not lithium, though. Anyway, so to continue, good morning. To continue, so there's a lithium polymer battery called a Lipo battery. Lithium and polymer. Polymer basically means plastic. And so they use instead of the lithium ion type battery, they use a special different kind of material. And polymer actually means plastic. I might have said that. So what happens is it makes a much lighter battery, and also it works really well for model airplanes and drones and little RC cars and stuff like that. But it is very critical how you treat those batteries. So everything has to be just right. I mean, the temperature, and you don't overcharge them, you don't undercharge them, because that could start a fire. They're not the safest battery in the world. But that's not true of lithium ion. Okay, those batteries are for RC cars and stuff. The lithium ion battery, as a matter of fact, your phone probably has a lithium ion battery. My son's shop has tons of tools that have lithium ion battery. You can run them all the way up, and then you can discharge them all the way down. They're not like the Lipo batteries, okay? So don't get confused, because the lithium ion battery is a pretty rugged battery. All right, so in fact, the camera that I'm using probably has a lithium battery in it, lithium ion. Okay, so we're just going to call them lithium batteries. So, what was I going to go? Well, oh yeah. So why does on e-bikes and e-trikes, why does the controller shut the power down when it gets down to 40 volts instead of letting it go all the way down like in other uses? And I'll try to explain it. Okay. When I was a kid, I didn't understand mathematics and didn't want to, but I found out later that it's not all that not all that bad. You know what? I should be in pedal assist too. I'll never get up this hill. So I had to learn electronics because I was going to teach it. They told me I was going to teach it, and I found out that it's not all that bad. And in fact, a lot of the mathematics is pretty simple. And so let me explain just a little bit. I don't want to run you off my channel, but this might be helpful to some of you. When we talk about electricity, we're talking about volts and amps. Amps is the current. That's the electrons moving. How many electrons are moving through the wire per second or something like that? So that's the movement of electronics. The voltage is what pushes them out of one end of the battery and sucks them back into the other end. So they go through a circuit, and that's a good thing, because that's what you want. So the battery is there to push the electrons through the circuit and suck them back into the battery, and so that's what happens there. So then there's this term called wattage. How many watts? Now, some of these bikes have 350 watt motors, and some of them have 750 watt motors. And I really can't tell you what this is because I didn't care. But anyway, so wattage, how do you figure out wattage? You just multiply the volts times the amps. So, so let me give you an example. Let's say my battery, I just charged it up and I'm out riding. And now I've done a little bit of experimenting on this. So I'm out riding, and I'm going 10 miles an hour in pedal assist 3, okay? And I look down, and my voltage shows, because the battery's pretty new, it shows 50 volts. Because usually they charge them up over 48, so it shows 50 volts. And then I look at the current, and the current is 4 amps, okay? And that's pretty close to what it really is, okay? So the current is 4 amps. Now, how do we find wattage? 4 amps times 50 volts. So what's 4 times 50? 200. So when I'm going down the road in pedal assist 3 at 10 miles an hour, I'm using 200 watts of power, okay? And that's how you figure it out. So then so that's at 50 volts. Now let's say that it gets down to 40 volts, and that's where it shuts off. And if you calculate it out at 40 volts, well, first of all, you gotta take 200 watts and divide it by 40, and you should get 5 amps. Okay, go across the road here. So that's how hard electronics is. It's not tough. So 200 watts divided by 4 amps, or 4 volts, is 5 amps. So remember, at 10 miles an hour, when you had 50 volts, it was only drawing 4 amps. But now, at 10 miles an hour, when your battery's about discharged, now it's drawing more amps, okay? So what would happen if they didn't have a limit as you're trying to go along in pedal assist 5 and trying to just go as fast as you can, and it gets down to 40 volts, then if the smart, intelligent controller doesn't stop things, your current is going to go up so high that it's going to burn up the battery. Because the battery, well, actually, I've seen it where it goes 8, 9. I don't remember if it carries 10 volts or 10 watts. I'm sorry, 10 amps or not. But the reason that it shuts off, instead of how come my son's tools don't shut off, is because you're looking at high current and an expensive battery. So it shuts off at 40 volts so that you don't run so much current that it ruins your battery. That's why it shuts off at 40 volts. So other situations might do the same thing in other uses, but in the e-bikes and e-trikes, it levels out. It stops at 40. So that's why. And as far as the temperature, yeah, you shouldn't be charging it out in the sunlight. And I don't know about how cold. It doesn't matter how cold it is, but that's not the same with those Lipo batteries. But with lithium ion battery, they're pretty rugged. You can charge them at any temperature below, let's say below 75, 80, 90 degrees. You're okay. So I'll tell you my story now, because I had to learn some of this stuff by experience, and it was not a good experience. When I first got it was my third e-bike. I'm getting so confused. What am I doing here? Anyway, so It was my third e-bike, and I usually took them inside my son's shop. This was before he got really busy and started a business. So I take him in his shop. He had a place for me to park, put it on charge, and then it'd be ready to go the next day. So, but one day I came home, gone out for my morning ride. I came home. It was springtime, I think, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. So I got home and I couldn't put my bike in the shop, but I needed it to be charged. So I unplugged my charger inside and brought it out. And you always plug the charger into the battery first and then plug it into the wall. I don't know if you know that, but the electronics in those circuits are pretty sensitive. So if there's a spark, if you notice sometimes there is a spark, that's not going to be good, okay? So best thing to do is plug it into the battery and then plug it into the wall. And then when you get all finished, unplug it from the wall and unplug it from the battery. But also always make sure it's plugged into the battery before you change anything. Okay, so now, by the way, this is Saturday, August 10th, 2024. Just so you know where we are here. All right, so I keep forgetting where I am. So I put it on charge. It was nice and cool. It was in the shade. Everything was fine. I went in the house, got busy doing other things, and just literally forgot about my bike until my wife had a letter to mail as a birthday card or something, and it needed to go in the mail that day, and the mailbox is a half-mile away. And so I said, oh, I'll just take it on my bike. And so I ran outside, unplugged it the proper way. Good morning. I'm the best dad ever. What are you talking about? God bless you. Anyway, so I don't know that guy, but he knows about me now anyway. So jumped on my bike, unplugged it, jumped on the bike. 95 degrees out now, and it's been sitting in the sunlight since all morning, and everything is hot to the touch. Okay, but I don't care. I'm gonna mail that letter from my wife. So I jump on the bike, and if you remember any of the videos I've made from my son's place, there's a little tenth of a mile driveway out to the road, or out to the street, maybe not even that far. Anyway, so jumped on. By the time I got to the street, the bike just died. And looking at my clock, this may take longer than usual. Anyway, so it died. So I brought it back, and of course, I pulled the battery out, and believe it or not, it measured 26 volts. So there's two banks of batteries inside of these lithium batteries, and one's 26 and the other is 26, and they put them together like you would in a flashlight, and you got 48 volts. So anyway, I measured the voltage in 26. So that meant that the battery one side of the battery got burned out. How come? Probably because of the heat and the current, because I was in a hurry. I had probably put it in pedal assist 11. Anyway, so it burned out the battery. So remember, I got this bike from Rad e-bikes, which I'll never buy another thing from them, ever. I'll get to that. Might be in the next video, but I'll get to that. So I ordered a new battery from them. They wanted $600 for a battery. I found out later I could have got it somewhere else for $400. And by the way, the somewhere else place is one of my favorite places, except for when I actually don't need anything right now. I got everything I need. But The uh, the place is called Electro Bike World. I'll put it. I'll put the name in the description below, or anyway, Electro Bike World. So when you want to buy something for your bike or your trike, or just buy a bike, they sell those. Um, Electro Bike World. All right, so I got that. I got my battery from Rad for $600. So then it came finally. I put it in the bike. Nothing worked. So it looked like the electronic speed control, or the controller as they call it, was no good. And also, I can't remember how I found out, but the battery, I can't remember when it's all getting confused in my mind. But anyway, the motor also turned out to be burned up inside the motor. And so I had to order a motor and an electronic speed control. So I went to Rad Bikes, and I couldn't find it on their list of parts. Actually, the only thing they had was batteries, and so I couldn't find it. So I sent them an email. Went to customer service or whatever, and sent them an email. And I waited. You know, they said it'd take a couple of days. So I waited a couple more days, and a couple more days, and a couple more days, and never got a reply. So then I thought, okay. So then I decided I'll give them a call. And so got on the phone, got their number, got on the phone, and called their number. Well, I got this recording that said, because of heavy volume, our phone system has been turned off or something like that, some ridiculous thing. I thought, what is going on here? So that's when I decided to go to Electro Bike World, and that's where I got everything I needed after that. And so it was just a runaround type of thing. So I got that, and I put it all together, and my son helped me with the motor because he's got better steady fingers. And what you do is you pull the insides of the motor out, and the shaft, the case of the motor stays in the wheel, and then you put a new insides and screw it all together. So did that, and nothing would work. It just didn't work. And that was all new stuff, new battery, new controller, and and the controller came with a display, which is probably where the brain is in that thing, because that's what it is on my bike here. Is the display is where the brain is, where the system. So I could not figure it out, and I played around. Finally, I discovered if you laid the bike on its side, right down where the pedals go around on a Rad e-bike, there's a little sensor hanging down from the bottom of the frame, and that sensor is affected by a disc. I think I got a couple of those. I'll put them up. Anyway, the sensor is next to a disc that goes around. It's got magnetic pieces in it, and that tells the electronic speed control that you're pedaling. And so I had to get one of those, and I got that from Electro Bike World. So I got all that, and it started working. Everything worked fine. Okay, but I had this battery that was burned out, and with lithium-ion batteries, they're just as dangerous if you're not careful as Lipo batteries. Because lithium is really it's a fire starter, I guess you'd say. So I put it. So what we always did was we take our RC batteries, Lipo batteries, and we put them in a container of salt water, let it sit there for a couple of weeks, and that salt water causes the battery to totally discharge because it conducts current so well. And so we put it into a bucket full of salt water and let it sit there. Well, one thing that I forgot is on those batteries, there's a key slot where you can turn the battery completely off, which disconnects everything. And I just left it in the off position. And so there was no way it would short out, or it would die with the battery turned off. But I didn't think about that. So, and not only that, here's another thing. My son said, I don't see, he wondered how come I was so dumb, I think. But I put it into a plastic bucket and I set it next to the house. Dumb. But I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I was just going to short out the battery slowly. So a couple of weeks went by, and I just thought, well, just leave it sit there. In the meantime, the only thing that was happening in that battery was the seals that kept water out were beginning to leak, and the salt water was getting inside the battery. And so, and remember all those pictures of those batteries, or the cells that are in one of those batteries? Well, anyway, those were all getting soaked with water, or salt water, which is worse. And the lithium finally decided they couldn't handle it anymore and started burning. And I've got a video. I've made a video about this, which has more detail, and I'll put a link to it at the end of the video. You can just click on it and watch it. But anyway, my son just happened to be coming. My wife and I were sitting in our little bungalow, and we heard this popping sound, but they're always doing something in the shop next to us, so we didn't think anything about it. See if I can cross here. So we didn't think anything about it, and so we just didn't. And then all of a sudden I went, well, what is that? So I went out the door of our little bungalow about the same time as my son, who had come out the door of his house, and he had seen flames shooting up out of that plastic bucket right next to the shop. And as it turned out, the frame to the door, wooden frame, was actually starting to burn. And so he ran over there and he grabbed it and ran out into the middle of the driveway and dumped it, because there was flames shooting out, and every time it would pop, they'd shoot up in the air and go somewhere else. And so he took it out there and tipped it over, and they were shooting out when it was laying on the side, they were shooting out the end of the bucket. And so anyway, he got the hose out, put all the fire out, and I've got some pictures of that battery after it had burned. So it is possible to make stupid mistakes. What I should have done is put it in a metal bucket, turn the key on, and set it out somewhere away from the building, and just let it, die over the next couple of weeks. Well, I guess I probably talked way too long here, but that's the story of my mistake, and that's how lithium-ion batteries work. So I'm just going to say thanks for listening and riding with me on my e-trike ride this morning, and God bless.